Hey guys, this is part 2 of our video with Jairus Ferrer for Icon 2018. So in the first part, we talked about his life and how he actually started going into business, that he skipped college. So if you haven't seen that yet, check out the previous video to know more about it. So this time, we're gonna talk about his business, exactly how did it start, and then how did it evolve through the years, and how he, I guess, sees that industry to grow over the next few years. So welcome back. It's nice to see you after a long time.
I'm Arm.
Yeah, just
after 30 seconds.
30 seconds ago, yeah. So
all
now,
right.
We mentioned that you skipped college, you went to your own, do your own thing. What made you go into farming and agriculture? Because you have to understand this, the stigma is most of the people who are going into that are relatively old. Yan mga Randall Chongson, age level, or even older pa. Siya nagsabi nun. Joke lang. Okay.
Siya nagsabi nun. Okay. Yeah, so where we are today.
Kasi diba, the stigma is farmers are generally older.
Yeah, that's a stigma, and I only because there was a season where people were getting into an exodus out of the industry only because the infrastructure around it wasn't supporting the industry. But the nice thing about agriculture is the basic thing of everyone eats. Everyone eats. That's it. That's the basic thing of it. And the next question is, as the trajectory of the population growth goes up, where are we gonna get the food?
And which for me, which is sad, because we even import our rice from Vietnam and Thailand. We can't even have our, I guess, our own. We can raise our own rice.
I mean, yes, I understand, but again, it's enabling people to get back into the industry and say, hey, look, we want to provide a way to make people see that there is actually money in agriculture, and there's actually good revenue if you do it right with the proper principles of life.
So farming is quite a large industry.
Very large.
Very large. How did you pick what specific, I guess, sector or particular niche you would want to be in?
Okay, so to get to where I am today, it's a long journey, but at the same time, I figured it out because for the past 10 years, Marv, in and out, I was doing things myself. I'm not scared to carry things na magde-deliver ako mismo, waking up at 3 a.m. to be able to kukunin yung shipment or kukuha ng orders. After that, you know, you're talking to clients, looking for opportunities to sell. And what people don't understand is farming is a full science industry. You have to understand nature, you have to understand how a crop grows, you have to understand the nature of things and how the logistics, and it's a whole movement and whole industry all to itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how did you evolve into probiotics, right? No? Yes.
Yeah, I started.
I got it wrong.
No. We started selling a product from Bukidnon on probiotic chicken, which is distributed all throughout the country through a supermarket. And that's where I realized that, wow, there is actually a market for such items, right? But the biggest challenge, again, is the information flow of how to get the produce from the field, from the ground, all the way down to the consumers. And the interesting thing about it is there's a market for everything. There's a market for everything. It's just a matter of finding the match for this specific market.
So how did you find the match, and how did you know that parang this is the market that I need to serve?
The story behind the probiotic chicken is my classmate in farm school in Bukidnon came up with a product. And sabi ko, when I decided to go back into the industry, sabi ko, maybe we can sell it here in Metro Manila. Long story short, we did, and we did a cold call. Sabi namin ng partner ko, where are we gonna sell it, right? So common sense would say, go to the internet and look for a market. And you know, most of the companies, you have to be proactive. So we went to the internet and we looked for contact us for that specific client. Simple, right? Common sense would say, go to contact us. So we made a cold call. And true enough, kakatapos lang ng department na yon on looking for more products. The next day, we met them immediately, presenting the product, and that's what catapulted it to where it is today.
After that, after getting one client, what what led you to getting the next and the next and the next one? Was it also easy, or parang after that it was relatively harder already? Was that sakto lang, right place, right time, or was it the first one that you contacted, or you contacted a lot of people as well?
We contacted a lot of
Okay.
people. There was one person who I'd like to really honor in terms of pushing me to get into this. It's a chef. He's a chef. His name is Chef Robbie Gombo.
Okay.
He pushed us to actually go for it. I mean, Jai, just make sure just serve it to us, and it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow. So it's a lot of problem solving, and the more clients that you the more clients you try to serve, the more challenges comes in. The more the challenge comes in. Like for example, logistics comes in. The funding comes in. How do you make sure that learning how to do collection, learning how to do accounting? So all of these other things pile up. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, right? But the next thing is like, okay, you gotta figure it out.
What do you think is the biggest problem right now in the agriculture industry? Why parang a lot of people are having a hard time, or they're hesitating to actually enter it as well?
That's a very, very challenging question, only because there's a lot of factors.
Okay.
But the most common thing is really access to market. That's the most common thing that I would hear.
Meaning farm to market roads? Is it the infrastructure?
The infrastructure is a big chunk of it, but that's beyond our control already,
Okay.
because that's government's thing. But you can influence somehow. But again, it's really connecting people from where it is to where it has to be.
So before, that's not. I guess that's one of the hardest parts, especially when there was no internet 30 years ago.
Yes, because Marv, the freshest thing, the best thing for food is the freshest. The fruits or the vegetables has to be in the field. The best refrigerator is the soil, right? If you have storage, that means it adds cost to it, right?
Okay.
So what we're trying to do now is we would like to provide services where it actually shortens the supply chain, the value chain. We're not eliminating anyone, but we're enabling the industry to actually, oh my gosh, there's a market for this, we grow this. Oh, this is the way to serve it. Okay, this is how to do it. This is where to go, and this is how to sell it.
So how did since there was no connectivity before, no? How did actually people get to sell their items? What made other countries more successful than us in doing so?
Producers,
when in terms of the internet, parang it's just fair game for everyone.
It's fair game for everyone. But in the Philippine setting, the industry is heavily the industry is heavily dependent on traders.
Okay.
Because the traders have the information, they have the added value, which is no problem. And I mean, that's what they're serving. That's what they're serving the industry. But what we would like to leverage on is the capability of the Philippines to actually grow what other countries cannot. Okay. And we should actually grow from within, and the excess we should sell. And that is the business model of Israel. They feed themselves first, and the excess they sell out. Okay.
So that's it. Very, very interesting that you have to make your people
busog muna.
Have something first. Okay. So now, in terms of industries and growth sectors in our country, no, where do you think, in terms of crops, in terms of region, where should be the focus?
I think all provinces have a specific niche item to grow. We have to remember, Marv, we're an archipelago of 7,000 islands. And we're, of course, very heavy dyan, yung coconut. We have other industries as well. But I believe that every province has something to offer. The question is, how do we now activate that again? So that's the biggest question now.
So it's possible, kasi people have this stigma that eto lang, this Bukidnon lang, Benguet lang, Central Plain of Luzon are areas where you could actually make money from farming. In terms of, I guess, selling it, in terms of margins, is it hard also to, kasi you don't see any large conglomerate going into agriculture?
In the Philippines, there's a lot of micro. There's actually everyone's in a micro scale, and we're not like the US or other big landed areas like China, where they can actually dedicate a whole 100 hectares or 200, 300 hectares one at a time. You need a corporate farm to do that. And we have that. We have a few corporate farms serving in the Philippines, but a chunk of the industry in the Philippines are actually micro farms, right? And a lot of them can produce niche-specific products. And the next question is, for these niche items, where do you now move them into, right?
Okay. So what's for the years to come now, what makes agriculture exciting here in the Philippines? What's something to look forward to?
I'm personally excited only because there's a movement of young people getting into it.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people who are actually engaged in moving forward within their specific regions. Okay, so where we are coming in now, Marv, is actually how do we now engage people to do things at the right way, do things the right way in their specific farms. And there's no one right way, there's no one size fits all, right? So everyone needs to understand that each specific place has a specific way to grow there. So you have to understand, for example, if your elevation is up to a certain level only, ito lang yung pwede mo itanim. Hindi mo pwedeng itanim yung from the highland areas.
Okay.
So that's common sense, right? Yung taga-lowland naman, you don't force na you plant what you have dun sa taas. Okay, so that's where the science and study come in. There's no one size fits all, and usually people would ask, anong magandang itanim? Ang next question there is, ano yung pwede sa inyo? Okay.
So here, I get this question most of the time, no, na may lupa ako, can I enter into farming kagad? So the answer is not necessary. You can.
If you have lupa, good.
Okay.
But the next question is, will you be dedicated to actually stay there? To actually focus on
how in terms of watching over the farm and in terms of the time that you need to spend to make it profitable, no, how much of an effort does it take?
What I learned when I was in Bukidnon is I was lucky enough, Marv, to actually be involved with micro farm, which that dun ako with for 5 years, and then I started to get involved in how a corporate farm actually runs. Totally different, but both need management skills.
What's the main difference? And for those who don't know, what's the difference between a micro farm and a corporate farm?
A corporate farm is where that's where you manage like 50, 100, 200 hectares at a time. And we have that in the Philippines. So if you haven't been to Mindanao, go check it out.
That's like Del Monte, Dole,
yes,
etc.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what you call a corporate farm, and that's where you infuse large capitalization. And of course, not everyone can do that, only because that involves, you need to have a conglomerate type of management system, right? But in the difference between the micro farm is the micro farms can actually program what they have in the field based on their capacity. Okay, now if you have a loop, kung meron kayong lupa, I encourage you to look at what can be grown there and what your local market needs. I always encourage people to go local to local, only because everyone eats, and someone in your area will need something.
And it's cheaper not to export it anymore.
Yes, Marv, the biggest cost of food is actually food miles, logistics. And the challenging part, here's a neat info. A nice info is, I don't know if it's nice, but an information it's cheaper to send vegetables from Mindanao or a container van of food to Mindanao to other parts of the world compared to Mindanao to Metro Manila.
Talaga? For what reason? When you say other parts, that you're saying Indonesia or...
Yeah, I was talking to a corporate farmer and he said, Jai, it's cheaper to send Mindanao to Japan or Mindanao to LA compared to Mindanao to Metro Manila.
For what reason?
Logistical cost.
Okay. So it's more expensive to...
The bureaucracy.
Okay.
There's a lot of factors, which on another topic.
Okay, so part of your business now, what you're developing also is something that will benefit farming, but it's technology related.
It's technology driven.
Okay, we'll just end this video with one thought. Any tips naman for those that want to enter farming? Could be trading, starting their own, tilling their own farm. What do you have? What do you tell them?
Yeah, I suggest that this is my experience. I volunteered and I started to work for other people's areas and fields, and I would actually volunteer to say, hey, can I do this for you? Okay, so again, I would encourage them to look for someone to actually work for first, learn from that experience, and study a lot, especially when it comes to agriculture. It's a lot of studying.
Alright, so that's it. Now, what I got from there, especially from the last part, no, is don't chase after the money first. Chase after learning and building your skills. Because you did it for free, right? When you were volunteering?
So we were doing it for free. I was doing it for free, but later on,
you got paid for it.
nakasweldo na ako, so
okay.
that was fun.
but syempre, when you're starting out also and trying to volunteer for it, the pay naman isn't as big here.
It's not as big, but that's the reason why, you know, in agriculture, you'll learn how to be number one, content. Number two, you'll need to learn how to live within your means talaga. Yun talaga eh. And then of course you have to find ways to come up with solutions from actually what you have around.
So that's it. Don't chase after money. Learn as much as you can and then build your skills, and then don't be scared to take risks as well. So the last interview will talk about how you can fuse farming with technology as well, and the entire journey. We'll put this into a round circle. No? So, but if you want to catch him live, Jairus Ferrer, Icon 2018, this May 26, 2018. The link will be below and how you can sign up. So that's it for now. Bye everyone.